Let me ask you a real question. Was the Bible actually changed by kings and governments? Or has it been carefully preserved over time? Because a lot of people today believe that versions like the King James Version were edited or influenced by political power. And I get why that sounds convincing. But when you actually look at the history, the story is very different. Let's start with King James Bible. It's named after James of England, and that's where a lot of confusion begins. People assume if his name is on it, he must have written it or changed it, but that's not what actually happened. King James didn't write the Bible. He didn't sit down and edit the verses. He didn't rewrite doctrine. What he did was authorize a translation project in the early 1600s. At that time, there were multiple English translations causing division. So the goal was to create one unified, reliable version. So how was this actually done? Well, here's the process. Over 40 trained scholars, experts in Hebrew and Greek, were selected. They worked in groups, cross-checking each and other's works. They follow strict guidelines to avoid personal opinions or political bias. And most importantly, they translated from the existing ancient manuscript. I do apologize, I'm Hispanic, so I'm trying to get this together. So I'm going to repeat that again. They translated from existing ancient manuscripts, not from imagination, not from royal command. So yes, it carries the king's name, but it does not carry his authorship. That's a big difference. Now let me talk to you about another topic that I consider important in this manner as well. The Dead Sea Scrolls. Now let's talk about something that really changed the conversation. The Dead Sea Scrolls. These were discovered in the 1940s near the Dead Sea. And what makes them so important is their age. Before their discovery, the oldest complete copy of the Old Testament had been around for about 1,000 years after Christ. But the Dead Sea Scrolls date back as early as 200 years before Christ. So now, for the first time, scholars could prepare biblical texts separated by over 1,000 years. And here's the key question. Did the message change over time? The answer is no. In any major way, the answer is no. Yes, there are small differences in spelling, word order, minor copy variations, for lack of better wording, and that's normal with any ancient handwritten text. But the core message, the teachings, the doctrines, they remain consistent. That is huge. Because, I'm going to tell you why. Because instead of showing corruption, it shows careful preservation. Hallelujah. So when you put these two things together, the picture becomes clear. On one side, the King James Version, a translation done by the scholars, not a king, based on earlier manuscripts. On the other side, you have the Dead Sea Scrolls, ancient evidence showing that biblical text was already stable long before King James Bible even existed. So the idea that a king came along and changed everything, it just doesn't hold up historically. What we actually see is a chain of transmission, generation after generation, where people took the text seriously and preserve it with care. So in closing, listen, it isn't about forcing anyone to believe anything. It's just about understanding the facts. You don't have to follow the Bible blindly, but it is important not to misunderstand its history either. Because when you really look into it, the evidence doesn't point to manipulation. It points to preservation. Remember that. No manipulation, preservation. And that's something worth thinking about. So until our next video, this is Pastor Milton Rivera. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you all days, every days. And we'll see you in our next video.